Hi, everyone. I'm Morgan Reynolds. Welcome back to the Beyond the Trend Studios in lovely Vero Beach in the heart of Indian River County, which is turning 100 years old this year. And in honor of that, we have the distinct privilege of sitting down with our county commissioners to learn a little bit more about them as individuals and what they love about Indian River County. So here with me now is Commissioner Susan Adams. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. For those who may not know you super well, shall we start with where you are from, born and raised?
Sure. I'm actually from Fellsmere, Florida.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
you're the first person I've met that was born and raised there. In like a cool way, because
Yeah.
I spend most of my time here in Vero, and I've met quite a few
Mhm.
people now who are born and raised here.
Mhm.
So what was that like growing up in Fellsmere?
Oh my goodness, growing up in Fellsmere. Well, back back in the day, back back when I was growing up, 512 was 2 lane all the way into Sebastian. So it wasn't 4 lane. Um, I remember we used to go to the Zippy Mart. Well, okay, so you'll know somebody is a Fellsmere
Native.
native
Uh-huh.
if they call the gas station in town the Zippy Mart. Because when we were all younger, it was actually a Zippy Mart. Now it's a Sunoco, but we all still call it the Zippy Mart. So,
It's cool.
um, we would all go to the Zippy Mart. You could get candy, like one piece of candy for 5 cents. So you just get a bag and fill up your bag for, whatever dollar you had. Everybody was always walking all over town, everybody's house, because it was such a small town. We'd ride our horses in what's now the Buffer Preserve. When I
Oh,
was growing up, our
wow.
house backed up to the Buffer Preserve, and well, it was Carson Platt's estate at that point, but he'd let us ride, our horses back there.
Nice.
I remember, a lot of my friends what you would do on the weekends, you'd go jump off the C-54 bridge and into
As
the
one
canal,
does,
right?
yeah.
So I never did that. I think my mom would have killed me, but a lot of my friends did. It was a lot of fun. But, we did what people do in the country. We rode horses, raised cows, and, you know, probably did things that I wouldn't let my kid do now because it's dangerous. But
Ignorance is bliss,
yeah, but
right?
when you're young, you do fun stuff. But it's great. Growing up in Fellsmere was and still is fantastic. I still live there, raising my son there. My mom lives, a mile away down the
Oh,
road.
nice.
So, it's fabulous. It's a fabulous area.
That's beautiful. I really enjoy I grew up in a small town and I enjoy being able to be in a small town here as
Uh-huh.
well. What led you to eventually run for commissioner?
Um, Actually, I had gone away to school and I came back. My mom had started the Marsh Landing, the restaurant. I started working for her there, and um, a spot opened up on Fellsmere City Council. There was an open seat. So I actually started at Fellsmere City Council because we had the business in town. I lived there, I grew up there. Fellsmere is going through a lot of growth. And I wanted to be able to be part of that conversation, be part of what was happening and the plans that they were making for the future. Um, I was on Fellsmere City Council for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And then Mr. Wesley Davis decided to run for property appraiser.
Hmm.
So there was an open seat on the commission, and the county was going through some of the same changes that the city had been going through. And it just seemed like a really good way to continue to advocate for my community, to continue to advocate for the part of Indian River County that I really loved.
Hmm.
Um, and that sometimes didn't feel like it had a voice at the
Sure.
table. Being in North County, Fellsmere, Roseland, Sebastian, Yeehaw, or Blue Cypress Lake, sometimes you feel a little left out of some of the conversations. So
Sure.
I wanted to continue my advocacy on a bigger scale. So that's what led me to it. And, when I was growing up, my mom was actually a county commissioner. She
Oh,
was the
cool.
District 1 county commissioner before Wesley Davis. So um, we're actually the only mother-daughter county commission pair in the state of Florida. There's been lots of father sons and that kind of stuff, but we're the only mother-daughter. So I think that's kind of cool.
That's fascinating.
But she, I would go around to all the meetings with her growing up. So being involved was just something I grew up with, and so it
Hmm.
was just a natural progression from there.
Well, that's very cool.
Hmm.
It makes such a big difference if your family is cares about it as much as you do, I'm sure, because I'm sure it keeps you very busy.
Oh, for sure. And my mom, my mom is an amazing person, and she set such a great example just about what you do as a community member and how you become involved in your community. And it's the little things, joining your exchange clubs or your softball leagues and just being an active participant, especially if you have kids. That was always her thing. Recreation was her driving force, because, she had us, I mean, my sister and brother, and we were always active in things. But having that example growing up, of course, my mom says I should have known what I was getting myself into. Like I should have known
Right.
better.
You have no
Um,
excuses.
right, exactly. So, but it's been
Oh,
great. It's great. She's a great support.
oh, that is really awesome. So tell me about some places that you love in Indian River County. If someone was maybe coming to visit, where would you like to take them? What would you like them to see?
Oh, well, I always try to take people to the Stick Marsh out in Fellsmere. There's a group of rosetted spoonbills that are there, and so certain times
Beautiful.
a year they're all out and beautiful. It's a little rookery over there.
Oh, wow.
So that's a great place to take them. It's something different.
Hmm.
Um, I like to take people to the the buffer preserve. If you go in off of Babcock Street and you go all the way under I-95 into the back, there's some locks there where 54 kind of goes into the St. Sebastian River. And certain times of year, you can see a bunch of manatees. It's
Oh,
amazing. They're all up there,
cool.
especially when it's colder because the water's
Right. They
warm.
like the warm water.
So you can see a bunch of manatees there. And so that's a really cool, something different to take
Yeah.
people to. And of course, if they're into boating and birding, Blue Cypress Lake is
Mm.
beautiful. And of course, you can't forget our beaches. I mean,
Of
the
course.
beaches are what people come to Florida for. So
Yeah.
any one of those are fantastic.
That sounds like an awesome tour,
Hmm.
actually. I want to go. Um, so what's the next question on my list? Dogs, cats. It sounds like you're kind of an animal person, or you guys grew up with a lot of animals. Do you
We
like having animals
did.
now?
We did. We grew up with everything. I mean, we even had a prairie dog at one
Oh my
point.
goodness, wow.
So,
What do you feed a prairie dog?
the same thing you feed.
Like hamsters and
Yeah.
gerbils and
Yeah.
okay, all
So
right, sure.
we lived in the country, and when I was younger, we actually went to school. My dad worked up in Melbourne at FIT, so we went to school up there till about fourth grade. So all of our friends and their families, if they had an animal, they knew we lived on a farm, so we would adopt the animal, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's how we got the prairie dog.
Mhm.
That's how we got a potbelly pig.
Cute.
We got a donkey the same way, like craziness.
That's
But
so funny.
and then I grew up. We showed cows and different things for
Mm.
4-H. So
Hmm.
now we have 3 dogs. My husband, he's a bird hunter, so we have 3 bird dogs:
Mm.
Copper, Ollie, and Daphne.
Aw.
Although Daphne really is more of a house dog. She
She's not
loves to
super
fetch.
into it.
No, not like the other two. She loves to fetch, but she could care less about the birds. But if you give her a
Right.
tennis ball, she'll go all day.
That's
And then
funny.
we have a small herd of limousine cattle, and my
Uh-huh.
son shows them at the county fair, and also at some different shows around the state. And then I personally have a bunch of chickens. I have
Oh,
entirely too
nice.
many chickens.
Entirely too many.
I think we're up to about 40 some odd chickens now. So I
I
have,
have no frame of reference to know if that's an outrageous number or not, but
I mean, we get a couple dozen eggs a day, so
okay.
it's it's not a crazy number. But chickens are fun. They always love to see you coming because they think you have treats, and they're just funny. So no cats, but we did have some growing up. Cats are fascinating, but we've had a little bit of everything, to be honest with you.
Well, that's kind of fun. No
Yeah.
donkeys currently.
No donkeys currently, but they're really good at protecting livestock from
Yeah.
coyotes. We don't really have a coyote problem at this point where we are, but we've thought about getting a donkey. Plus, if you're going to break, here's a little known fact. If you're going to break a cow to show, you have to break them to lead. You have to put them on a halter, lead, and everything. So donkeys are kind of an old school way to help with that. You would tie the cow to the donkey, and
Oh,
by the end
okay.
of the day, because the
Okay.
donkey's going to go where it's going to go, so the
Right.
cow's going to learn to go with it.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh. That's so
So yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
All right. Well, you learn something new every day. I grew up with horses, but my family chose to have llamas as their buddies. I do not recommend.
No llamas. My sister wanted llamas when we were growing up. We had horses growing up. We don't have any horses now.
Yeah.
And there's some alpacas down the road from me in Fellsmere. There's a guy that's raising alpacas.
God bless them. Some people really love them, but to me, because I would be taking care of the horses and then the llamas would
Yes.
be, spitting on you or, get in a fight with the horse and then everybody's,
It's just too much.
yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. They're a little cantankerous. But anyways, all right. So after a morning of farm chores, it sounds like,
Mhm.
are you a coffee person, a tea person, a workout person?
Oh my goodness, I'm definitely a coffee person. I used to be a workout first thing in the morning person. I'd be at the trainers at 5:30 and then have my coffee when I came home. But
So impressive.
that I took a break from it because was doing like heavy weights and stuff like that, and you get to a certain age where sometimes you just have to take a break. So
Yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
these days, I'm back to just doing coffee with cream, a little bit of honey, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But super strong coffee, like
Yeah.
the old school college cheap Cafe Bustelo.
Oh my God. It's so funny. You're going back to your roots. You're like, this got me through exams. It'll get me through today, right?
And it's so strong, but it's so good.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, now we know. I'll have to give that a try. Um, what is a good piece of advice that you've been given over the years that you might like to share?
Oh my goodness. I think one of the best pieces of advice that my mom gave me that's kind of the driver behind a lot of the things that I do in the community is if you're going to be part of a community, you have to take part in the community. So, and from that perspective, you have to be involved in the things that help support and frame and shape the community that you're in. So, be an active participant in your community. And I think that's a really great piece of advice, no matter what you do, and no matter what community you're in, whether it's a work community or a school community or a town or a city or a county community.
Right. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be in the political arena.
It does not.
Right.
Mm-mm.
In honor of the county centennial, we've talked a lot about the history of the county and Florida in general. Do you have maybe a favorite historical tidbit that you would like to share about either?
Yeah. So my favorite historical tidbit about Indian River County is, maybe it's more of a city of Fellsmere tidbit, but Fellsmere's in Indian River County.
It counts. It
So
counts.
it
We'll
counts.
take it.
Is that the city of Fellsmere was the first place south of the Mason-Dixon line that women got the right to vote. And they got the right to vote in the city before women were allowed to vote nationwide, before the constitutional amendment that allowed them to do that.
In the city of Fellsmere.
In the city of Fellsmere.
Wow.
And the way it happens, this is my favorite part, is the way it happens. So they were allowed to vote in municipal elections, and they got that right because when the city was created in the legislative enabling law that created the city of Fellsmere, they included that women could vote in municipal elections because at the time, a lot of the men were back and forth to New York and different places. So when they needed to do town business, the men weren't always available. So they wanted the women to be able to vote, for them. So that language got sent up to Tallahassee. And at the time, similar to what's going on today, actually, the legislature was fighting with the governor. They were doing all these different things. So nobody really read through the entire thing.
Oh, no.
They just saw basically it was creating a new city. There was a lot of cities being created, standard, passed it. The governor signed it into law. But like I said, in that language included the fact that women could vote. So they actually gave women the right to vote in the city of Fellsmere,
Huh.
without really knowing it until it happened.
That is so funny and not actually shocking when you think
No,
about
no,
it.
no. And so Ms. Zena Dreyer was the first woman south of the Mason-Dixon line to cast a ballot in a municipal election, and it happened in the city of Fellsmere. And I think that is the coolest story,
I
not
love
only for
that.
Indian River County, but for Florida, for Fellsmere, because nobody would really think that something like that happened here in our community.
Mhm.
And then when you kind of hear the rest of the story about how it happened, it's just it's just so interesting to me because, what if somebody had read it? What if they
Mhm.
wanted to change it? What would that have looked like? But they didn't, and they didn't, and here we are. So,
And here we are. No, it's such a good point because I think sometimes people have, well, for every place in America, people have preconceived notions, right? Oh,
mhm.
this place is like this and this place is like that. And, sometimes you read too many Florida Man articles, right?
Yes.
But look at the historic legislation that was
Yes.
being enacted here many, many years ago.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was, let's see, the city of Fellsmere was founded in 1915. So it would have been just before that. I think it was March of 1915.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And to think, I mean, back in the day before they had mosquito control, before they had air conditioning, and the people that were moving to this community and what they were doing, I mean, there were no roads the way that you think about it now. One of the old timers in Fellsmere always tells the story about his brother lived out in Fellsmere. So he came to town, I think it was in the 30s, and he came by train. The train dropped him off in Sebastian, and his brother had sent somebody to pick him up. But he didn't know this gentleman. And the guy said, "Oh, I'm here to pick you up. Your brother sent me." So they get on what is now 512 and start heading to Fellsmere. Well, it's basically a dirt road with nothing on it, not anything like what we think. And then he just keeps going further and further and further west. I-95 wasn't even there at the time.
Right, right, right.
So he's like, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it anywhere, or if this guy was going to kidnap me or what. He said, but we finally made it to Fellsmere. But just the way he described our area and our region at that time is fascinating, that people made the decision, to move here and live here and
Yeah.
build a life here in those conditions.
Correct. When I first went to the pineapple plantation house, which is a great visit,
Oh, Holstrom House it's so cool, isn't it?
it's so cool. But all I could think of was no air
No air
conditioning,
conditioning.
no mosquito repellent control spray of any kind. And yes, people settled down here and built lives here, and you really have to appreciate the work and the determination that
Yeah.
went in so that we could all enjoy it today.
Well, and just the way, the architecture with the big windows, and so our restaurant in Fellsmere Marsh Landing was built in 1926. And the transoms and the different ways the windows opened and worked, and to keep that air circulating to kind of keep it cool. But, it's not like turning your AC down to 72.
No, no. I try to comfort myself that they just didn't know
Right.
air
The
conditioning.
joys of air conditioning.
Correct. So it probably
Probably.
maybe didn't feel quite as terrible. Yes.
Meanwhile, when it goes out in the car, you're having
Right.
a
I
heart
can't
attack.
go anywhere. My day is over. So what's a hobby or something that you like to do to unwind, either just yourself or with your family?
Well, since my husband is a bird hunter, we do a lot of sporting clays, shooting sporting clays.
Oh,
It's a good way to take out aggression.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's also, just fun from a skill building perspective. And he's very good. I can hold my own. My son, he's very good too. So we will go out and do that in our free time on the weekends and stuff like that. But between the restaurant and the commission thing and everything else, not as much free time as I would like.
Not a ton of leisure in this season of life, maybe.
And sometimes, you just want to catch a nap real quick if you do have a little bit of downtime. So,
No,
but
100%.
fun times, just spent hanging out with friends and family. I think that's what everybody does in their leisure time, enjoying life
Yeah,
and all it has to
absolutely.
offer.
Sitting back a little bit and appreciating it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this might be moot, but do you ever have time to pick up a book or listen to a podcast or
I
binge a
do.
show?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually just finished the Wedding Dress Sewing Club,
Oh.
which was a cool book set in England and World War II about, the bombing of London and people had moved to the country. And so it just kind of follows their story, but also, a little bit of history behind it. I try not to read anything too meaningful. If if it's just like leisurely spare reading,
Right.
because it's a good time just to kind of veg out and not have to think about things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Your
Um,
brain needs a little reset from
yeah,
thinking too hard about all the very difficult things that happen day to day.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I do listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff in the car, and they run wide and varied, between true crime and
Yes.
history of fashion and, my son, if he's in the car, science
Oh, nice.
podcasts and stuff like that. And then, some state and national news. During legislative session, I listen to a lot of what's going on in Tallahassee just to
Mm,
keep up with the ever moving world of government.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I would love to ask you more about that, but we're not supposed to talk about anything political. So, moving right along, if you were not a commissioner, what's a dream job or what could you see yourself maybe doing?
So, interestingly enough, when I was in fourth grade, we had to put in a time capsule at our elementary school what we wanted to be when we grew up. So my principal, they opened it. I didn't realize they were opening, but they opened it and I'm still friends with her. So she brought down to the restaurant, my little picture with
How
what I
fun.
wanted to be when I grew up.
Okay.
And what it said was I wanted to be living on a farm and I wanted to run a restaurant.
No
So,
way.
and she said I had to bring it to you because that's like literally what you do.
You did it. You fulfilled the
So,
dream.
apparently, I would love to go back in time and talk to my fourth grade self and be like, "All right, maybe you should rethink your life choices."
Put a
There's so
different
many,
little manifestation in there for me, kiddo.
there's so many easier and more money-making ventures.
Oh, right.
But, my grandfather had a restaurant in North Carolina. Mom started this. The building is beautiful and it's a really fun and creative way to kind of live life. And um, life is always an adventure in the hospitality world. You just never know what issue the day will bring. So it's always something new, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and another way to kind of maybe serve people, right, is
Yeah.
by, feeding them and
Yes.
gathering them, right?
I do try to entice people to come out and see me for meetings at the restaurant versus like stuffy meetings at the
Oh,
office. And
nice.
I'm like,
Yeah.
we'll have a much better conversation over sweet tea and peanut butter pie
Well,
than,
yes, of
than
course.
we will here. So,
100%.
so come on out.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I'm going to have to make it out there
Yeah,
soon.
come
Yeah,
see
that
us.
sounds really good. So before we go, ways that people can get engaged or learn about what's happening in their county, in their own backyard. What are some suggestions you have?
So, I think just getting involved in some type of information sharing group, like whether again that's a Rotary Club or a community neighborhood group or a nonprofit or something like that, where you're kind of interacting with people that are moving around your community and you're finding out about different initiatives is a great way. But if you don't have time for meetings and those types of things, which I know a lot of us don't, and I totally get it, um, you know, we always are looking for people to give us feedback on different things on
Mm.
our website. We have a lot of surveys that are generally listed on our
Right.
website.
Mhm.
That's a great way to participate without having to come to meetings.
Mhm.
Um, always, also just emailing and picking up the phone is a good way to express your your opinion or also to ask questions. At the county and even at the cities, there's always somebody available to direct you to where you can find the answer to your question. I tell people all the time, I might not know the answer, but I can help you figure out where we can find the answer. We'll get you to the answer. And I think people too need to remember that their elected officials and their community leaders, they're still part of your community. They're still going to the same Publix you do. They're still sending their kids to the same schools you do. They're going to the same restaurants. They're going to the same parks. They're out there and they see that. And you can interact with them in so many different ways that way. But I think the biggest thing is just don't be afraid to ask and don't be afraid to get involved. And government, I know sometimes it seems like this nebulous thing that's far away and detached from the people, right? Because it's like this big machine of moving parts that sometimes it's hard
Right.
to
Not everybody
understand.
understand. There's a lot of layers.
Right, right. But we're there to serve what the community wants. We're not there to do what I want for myself. I'm there because I'm seeking to help what the residents want to see accomplished. So interact, communicate, provide that feedback. Most of us will make time in the evening, in the morning, phone calls. I mean, I was doing a phone call last night at 7:30 with a resident just because that was when they were available and that was when I was available. And you just try to be as accommodating because life and issues don't stop, just because the office is closed.
That is true. Well, we really appreciate that. So you heard it here, folks. It's very easy to reach your commissioners. All their information is on the website, indianriver.gov. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, indianriver.gov. So call, email. If you're not voicing your opinion, probably somebody else is. So it's make sure you chime in with your 2 cents as well.
And
yeah, go ahead.
The stuff that you like and the stuff that you don't like. You don't always, we laugh. Sometimes we hear from people when we've made mistakes or when we do something that they don't like. But it's always really good to hear about the things that were successes and that are happening and doing well and the stuff that you can build on. So you don't have to just call us when you're mad.
Right. That's a really good note. Well, because as we're building things in the future, right? You wanna have a good read on, what are people's kind of favorite initiatives that have been successful, and
they really liked this. Let's try to mirror this.
Correct.
Over here, that kind of thing. For sure.
Yes. So pros and cons feedback is really good. And special thank you to Irina and Jonathan and Let's Talk Vero for creating this platform and allowing us to be able to introduce the commissioners to the citizens. So
thank you.
Thank
it was
you
a
for
great
being
opportunity.
Here.
Yes,
we really appreciate it. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.